why I suggest that you be honest on the application.
I know there may be an issue with you have a lot of our youth dropping out of school.
Hmm.
And I guess that's one of the main things that they have on your application is your educational level. And I guess it may be, do they put down that I dropped out? Because I mean, that's kind of like
For the
a
educational piece, and what you're finding too, I'm finding a lot of Generation Y students who are just coming out of high school. You're finding a lot of kids realizing, man, I've got to have my high school diploma to just even be looked at now.
correct.
People have to understand we are in the second decade of the 21st century. The country has changed. Um, the key thing is globalization. We have taken shop out of high schools, home economics. Um, I tell people if you had a trade, you never go broke. Because
Correct.
people got to get the car fixed, they got to have electrician, all of those things. And so it's about having more than one stream of income. So if you have gone to high school for 2 years, then you put 2 years, okay? If you dropped out of high school and you got your GED from CPC or somewhere else, that would be what you would put.
Okay.
If you only been to high school for 2 years, yes, go ahead on and list it. People who have a college education, they don't need to list the high school piece on the resume, but you have to put it on the master application. So one of the things that we need to do in our communities, in our families, we need to push education like it was pushed back, in my day, because it's just becoming a very competitive society. And so I believe that a lot of youth now realize if they don't have a trade, they're going to have to get that high school diploma at least.
I can't remember whether we talked about this at a portfolio. Can you tell us a little bit, what is a portfolio?
A portfolio is, maybe a black folder or a little leather binder where you have the master application, you have the resume, you have a letter of references, you have your transcripts. You might have some work depending on what area you are applying in. If it's marketing, you might have one of your samples. Those are the things that go in the portfolio. But then even now, because I like to stay abreast as to what's going on with employment, one of the online classes that I teach, they have to do an interview, and basically the campus sends them the camera and they choose whether they want a man or a woman to interview them.
Oh, okay.
And then they send the link to me, and then I click on it and I can critique them. And so what you're finding, because of the virtual things that are going on, that's one of the things I did for that government contract, is I did job searching strategies via the webinar for government employees who were losing their jobs. And I think I lost my train of track. What train of track? I said that wrong. I know. What did you ask me?
Oh, I can't even. I think we were talking about portfolio.
Portfolio, yes.
Ma'am.
And what I was trying to get you to see, and what I tell the students is, everyone can have a business card now. Vista.com, $199 for shipping and handling, and maybe on the front of your card you can have 5 words that highlight who you are, your attributes, and on the other piece you can have your information to get in contact with, because paper is going away. We're trying to save the trees.
Correct.
And so now you can have your portfolio via online. So when you give that person that card, they click on your portfolio, your career mission statement comes up, your resume, your letter of references, your transcripts. We're going to things like that.
Okay, another thing is networking. Tell us a little bit about that and how vital is that, not only in new business owners or someone going out there seeking employment, networking.
I went to an HBCU, Norfolk State University, and one of the things they instilled in us is the key to networking. I had professors from Africa, China, India, and for whatever reason, I got it. And most of my friends will say, Annette knows somebody, and she has the number. Networking is important because nowadays it is about knowing somebody.
Correct.
And 85% of the job market is through networking. You know, I was at a job fair a couple of weeks ago, and I was going around to the various vendors, and it was some temp companies, and she basically said, if we don't know the person who put this resume in front of us, we don't even look at it. That is why networking is important. Whether you go to the same food line like I do, I know all of those cashiers. When they're new cashiers, I make friends with them, because just because they're cashiers, they still know people that I don't know that may be willing to help me. The bank that I go to, I make friends. Your church, you know, everybody sits on that same pew, that pew in front of you, the pew behind you, that's your church family. I got a job at a teaching position at CPC from somebody sitting on the pew, my church family. And, you know, I do this diagram on networking. I say I start here, and I show them, I start with my three sisters, one's in Norfolk, two's in Norfolk, and one is in Fort Washington, Maryland, but I show how many people are starting to look for me. The position that I got as an independent contractor for this government contract, these people were bracked out of their positions, and they have been in the government 15, 20, 30 years, and so I help facilitate federal resumes, civilian resumes, interviewing techniques. And my sister in Fort Washington interviewed for the job,
Okay.
and I am in Charlotte, and I'm the one that's working for them. So that's the kind of networking that I'm talking about. I've been in Charlotte 21 years, and every position I've had, except for 3, somebody gave me a name. I called them every Friday and left my 32-second commercial, and one day they call me back, and that's how it goes. One position I got, I was driving to Gastonia. I had left corporate America, and I went to a nonprofit, and I was driving. I said, okay, Father God, I'm ready to do this in Charlotte. And so I started asking people who do this. And so I found out who did it, and then I got a name, and I started calling that person on Fridays. And then one day she picked up the phone. We had a great conversation about how we loved our jobs. And she said she didn't have anything. That Monday she called me. She said, something's coming up. One of my employers has to go out on short-term disability, and we just started something new, and we want you to come in. I came in, and then they had another employee that got married, and I fell right into that position. So that's all from networking.
I know, well, with the economy it is right now, there's a situation dealing with, you have a lot of people going for the same employment. How can the youth kind of use that youth as an advantage over the older generation in getting that employment? Because sometimes we kind of like tend to, okay, we're younger than that individual, so we may not be eligible to get that position.
Well, I think that if you look at places like Walmart, I think you've got baby boomers working side by side, Generation X working side by side, Generation Y. I remember seeing a piece on 60 Minutes many, many years ago about what you just asked me. We're all working together now,
Sure.
and we all have different values. I think the young folk, what I like about them is that they're the smartest generation to ever walk this planet. They've got to have the self-esteem, and they've got to be able to process information. A lot of employers say, they don't know how to process it, but they're smart. And I think that if they have a good support system, neighbors, family members, church members, you are just as competitive as the other person. And I always ask everybody, what makes you different? What's in your portfolio that's different than the other person? And you always got to be thinking, this is who I am, this is what I can do, and this is why you need to hire me.
as a career consultant, where is that passion coming from to helping someone else in seeking the career that they really love to, what needs to be in?
It all fell into place. Like, going back to the first question,
Mhm.
job versus career. Um, I wanted to carry a briefcase and wear a suit. And so I thought majoring in business administration would allow me to do that. But I'll never forget, I was in the D.C. area, and I worked for a telephone company, and I was working part-time at a group home. And my sister said, Nettie, every time you talk about that group home, you just light up. I didn't pay it any mind. Come to find out, when I got here, I started teaching business education and economics and keyboarding and writing. And it just fell into place. I got my first master's in business education, and I got my second master's in counseling, which I hope to one day become a certified counselor. And because of the different positions I've had, and now I can see how it's all coming together, I just love helping people. I like getting information and giving it to other people, sharing information. A lot of people are referred to me, you got any job leads? I don't know, it just happened. And then, here I am teaching career management, and I just love doing that. I really do.
Where does Annette Goodman see herself at 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I'm on the path of working for myself. Scary as it sounds, I think that many of us are going to start working for ourselves. We're going to have to create jobs for our country to get back on track. But 5 years from now, I think that I will be working from home like I'm still doing now, and teaching part-time. I'm on the path.
Okay.
I'm on that path. Yeah, it's starting to come to light.
If we need to get in contact, we're running out of shorter time, and we need to get in contact with you, how are we going about doing that?
Well, that's one thing I don't have, and I need to work on. I don't have a website, but you can email me at goodmanannette28@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Annette Goodman, for coming on the show. And
Thank you
anytime
for
you want to
having
come
me.
back, you're more than welcome. Audience, thank you for watching the show, and you be encouraged. Thank you.
Thank you.